What's up, Wiz Nation? Welcome back to another episode of State of the Wizards. I'm your host, Dcan, along with my co-host, Kjose. Kjose, what's going on, my man? It's been a while.
Oh man, it's definitely been a while, man. A lot has happened, but it's good. Sorry, you guys, that we took so long to get back. I know you guys been yearning for this content, but we back.
For sure, man. It's exciting to be back. We have our off season too, like every other team, and we do this as much as we can, but we promise to you guys that we're going to keep this content going. Let's go ahead and start off. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. The Wizards learned recently that we received the 10th pick in the 2022 NBA draft. There were a lot of, speculation that the Wizards could possibly move up with the draft lottery. But now that we know where our stance are in this upcoming draft, who do you have the Wizards, or who do you see the Wizards drafting in this up and coming draft?
Um, I see them drafting somebody that we're not even thinking about. I see a lot of names out there, but a part of me feels that we're going to draft that kid, Nikola Jovic, out of Siberia. But I think when I looked at a mock draft just yesterday, they have him falling into the second round.
Mm-hmm.
But he just seems more like a Tommy Shepard type pick. I think he's 18 or 19, plays professional basketball over in Siberia. He's basically a project. And to me, to keep that Heritage Night going, the Siberian Heritage Night, that just seems more like a Tommy Shepard pick. So that's who I think we would probably draft.
I agree. I think that the Wizards 9 times out of 10 is looking at Nikola Jovic as well. It has Tommy written all over it because of his age. Number one, he's
Hmm
18 years old, and because of he's a Serbian player. Nikola Jokic out here,
hmm
that the Wizards really wish they can get their hands on. But he's
hmm
playing in Denver, unfortunately. Wes Unseld Jr. has a great history with that guy. I
hmm
think that, Jovic would be a Wizards Tommy Shepard / Wes Unseld Jr. Pick. I think that, because they can't get Nikola Jokic,
hmm
they'll want a Nikola Jovic.
Jovic. So let me ask you this: who would you like to see them draft?
Well, you already know, man. I'm a big fan of Agbaji.
Hmm
I think you say his name Ochai
Yeah, I think it's Ochai Baji.
Agbaji,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna show Wizards Nation the recent CBS mock draft here in a minute. Now we know that the mock draft tends to change, but there's a reason why Agbaji is such an there's a reason why he isn't being picked into the top 10, but then there's also a reason why some folks believe that he could be the steal of the draft. Now, I
Right.
would want him because of his athleticism, because he's a guy that can create off the dribble.
hmm
Even though he's 22 years old, he's coming in with a sense of immediate impact. So you have
hmm
to respect his shot. You have to respect his athleticism. He's already. If you really think about it, if we draft Jovic, we're waiting 4 years for him to just turn into an Agbaji,
hmm
right? Because Agbaji has the experience.
Right.
He's played in big games.
hmm
Tommy says he wants an immediate impact player. He's not going to get it at the guard spot by drafting a rookie. So why are we keep talking about Dyson Daniels? I have no idea. But if you want an immediate impact player for this team, who's a guy that can give you 25 minutes, a game, respectable minutes with Corey Kispert, Rui, Denny, with that second unit, or even a potential starter. Let's just say Bill makes his decision to go elsewhere. Agbaji can be a perfect fit at that two
Hmm.
guard spot in case he makes that decision to bolt.
Right. So, what do you say to the people who talk about the Johnny Davis, not the Greg Matherin, but the Benedict Matherin, the Dyson Daniels of the world? What do you say about those prospects?
Well, I'm not mad at any of those picks. I like Johnny Davis. I like Benedict Matherin. Benedict Matherin, in my opinion, should actually be ahead of somebody like Dyson Daniels because of the fact that he can just score the basketball. That's
Right.
proven. That's proven. Even when it comes down to Agbaji, when you're talking about some of these players, you recently saw them, in the NCAA tournament, and some of these guys were giving you, they were spoon feeding you little highlights here and there of what they're able to do. Okay, you need to see that in action. You need to see that in action with the type of environment, how these guys respond, so on and so forth. I'm not getting that with some of these other projections and some of these other picks, potential picks. I'm not getting that at all.
Right.
And I just think that I'm not um I'm not saying that Benedict Matherin will be a bad pick, but what I am saying is I think that Benedict Matherin has to go in front of some of these other projections out there.
I think he is. I don't think he will be available by the time we pick 10. Um, but Abaji will be there. Everything you said about Abaji, I agree. I actually paid attention to him back in February. He is definitely. I had to go back to what Antoine Jameson said. He just basically said that we're looking for a player that can be an impact player, that can come in and play right away and potentially be a star down the road. Well, that's Abaji right there. He can come in and play right away. I know people kind of scoff at his age, but 22 years old is not old, in my
No,
opinion.
not at all.
But I know why people say that because it's based off of the potential. If you get somebody 18, 19 that's, not ready to play, but Wizards Nation, we are not very good at developing young guys at that age. We got Isaiah Todd, and a lot of you guys are complaining about him. You guys are complaining about Denny, and he's 21. You
He's in his
guys are
second
complaining
year,
about,
and exactly. He's in his second year, and people are
he's in his
complaining.
second year, getting ready to go in his third, and you're complaining. So if you get a Baji who's 22, who you saw him, his team just won the tournament, he contributed to that. He contributed to him getting his, going into the tournament, getting high in the tournament and winning it. There's your ready to play guy. Now I know people are going to say, well, how does he fit alongside Bradley Beal? Well, we need to change that conversation, and it's more so of how does Bradley Beal fit with Abaji? Is he a
Well,
fit?
right, because the team is getting younger. Like with every year
Exactly.
that passes by, every draft pick that we draft, that's just another younger guy on the roster that fills up
Right.
another roster spot. So it's
Right.
not that the team is getting older, the team is getting younger. And
Right.
so Bill, at this point, being the oldest member on the team at this point, he's definitely going to have to be the guy that actually fits into the younger system. It's not the other way
Agreed.
around.
Agreed.
A lot of people would say, "Oh, well, how do these young guys play with Bill?" I mean, we're a very, very young team, and if you take off KP, if you take off Kuz, and you take off KCP, which are all technically in 1 year deals after the season, you're left with Bill alone. So,
Right.
you know, barring injury, everything looks good up and up as far as veteran play. But with
Right.
injury, you're going right back into a very young team, inexperienced team who's playing with just one guy who's a vet on this team who has playoff experience.
And since you brought up injury, I definitely want to touch on that a little bit later in the podcast.
All right,
So
let's jump right now to what I was trying to show Wizards Nation is that CBS mock draft recently came out and gave their top 10, their top 50, well, gave their entire first round. Let's just put it that way.
gotcha.
But,
Mm,
our pick is in there. So I'm going to point out some things in here that I think was very, very eye-opening. All right.
okay.
So what we're seeing on Wizards Twitter versus what it seems like everyone else sees, which is reality, in my opinion, is that, certain players are 9 times out of 10 going to go later than what people are projecting them. And some players that are actually supposed to go later is actually supposed to go earlier, because based off of what some of these findings are now, you got the combine, of course. You have a lot of teams now that are scouting these players, with a magnifying glass. So, in my opinion, this is probably one of the more accurate assessments, because now we know who's picking where, right?
Yeah. Okay.
All right, so here we go. Chet number 1, which I think everybody pretty much believes the Magic will pick at number 1.
Yeah.
Banchero number 2. OKC, they need that power forward out there, so I don't see why this wouldn't be accurate. Jabari Smith, who everybody touted as number 1, has now fallen number 3 because
I know why that is, because they're probably going to look at moving Christian Wood. That's why.
exactly. I'm glad you brought that up, because I was definitely going to bring that up. Jaden Ivey to Sacramento. Very interesting, because that
seems about right. I mean, they got a
feels
void in the shooting guard position.
Yep. So that's accurate, right? That seems accurate, right? So it seems like we're pretty accurate up until 5. I mean, up until 4 right now. We're at 5. Keegan Murray.
Now that's a shocker there.
Keegan Murray wasn't supposed to go 5. He was supposed to go in between 6 and 10. But if you really think about it, the Pistons need that power forward spot filled, because they made that trade last season with Sacramento for what's his
They
name?
got Marvin
Marvin
Bagley.
Bagley, right. So
plus two, I think Jeremy Grant, there's a possibility they may move him too.
Yeah, thank you. Because I was definitely gonna bring that up. So
I ain't mean to go ahead of you.
No, you're good. We on the same page. We're on the same page. So seems pretty accurate up until 5. So let's go to 6. 6, Shaden Sharp. Look at this. 7.
Whoa.
Look at that.
Wow.
Agbaji jumped from 15 to 7 in the latest mock draft. Now you see why I told you this is a sleeper pick, man. This is the pick that everybody is sleeping. I think Portland 9 times out of 10 see Agbaji probably filling in for CJ McCollum. He's going to be the new 2 guard alongside Dame Lillard. And it absolutely makes sense for Portland. But here's the thing.
Okay, so let me ask you a question real quick.
Yeah.
What is Anthony Simon's position? Is he a 2 or is he a 1?
Well, they have him as a combo, but he's been playing the 1, from my understanding.
So if you draft Agbaji, okay, does that mean that Portland will possibly be moving on from Damian Lillard and you have Simon and Agbaji in that backcourt?
Well, if you remember, was it a week ago, there was a proposed trade, or someone created a trade, a mock trade that put Anthony Simons in a deal, to acquire Bradley Beal, because it seems as if Portland may be ready to move on past Simons at this point. But I think that they're not ready to move on past Dame just yet. I don't think that's the case at all.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. But that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that Agbaji is not being, for whatever reason, on Wizards Twitter, they're not discussing him at all. They're moving right on past him, whether he's later than 10th or earlier than 10th. Nobody's discussing him, but I can almost guarantee you nobody had him going 7 either.
I didn't. Let me say this, man. There was another player that nobody was talking about who won a championship, an NCAA championship, and he went number 7 in the 1990. I think he went 7 in the 1998 draft. Yeah, the 1998 draft. Do you remember that player?
You said he went 7?
He was the 7th pick in the 1998 draft. Nobody was talking about him, and this team won the national championship. I'm going to give you a hint. I'm gonna give you a hint. He played for the Wizards.
And he won the national championship.
His team won the national championship that year.
Juan Dixon.
Hell no.
No, I'm playing. I'm playing. I said that because I already knew
Dixon
your
was 4
reaction.
years later,
I
brother.
know, I know. I'm just playing with you. I'm just playing
Oh,
with
you about to get me to start cursing up in here, man.
you. So let's see. UNC won, right? Did
No,
UNC win? No.
no,
UNC. You said 98 draft, he went 7.
Yeah, he went number 7th in that draft. That was the draft when Olawokende was the number 1 pick. Karan Butler was in that draft.
Oh. Ah, yeah, throwing out a lifeline. Hit me with it. Because it's on the tip of my tongue. Hit me with it.
We this is a giveaway, but we traded this player for Stackhouse. That's a dead giveaway, bro.
Oh, rip.
Right.
Oh, rip. Yeah, so
Remember, nobody was talking about Richard Hamilton that year.
right. Damn. Total like I totally remember it like it was yesterday when Rip won. We drafted Rip, and I thought at the time that Rip was gonna be the next big thing for us because I actually thought that was
Right.
a solid draft pick. And,
Mm-hmm.
and the thing, and you're right, nobody expected, in my opinion, to see us pick Rip at that spot. Now, my thing is do you believe that Agbaji is Rip in a way, or do you think that he's better than Rip?
He's better than Rip, in my opinion. He's more athletic than Rip. He's a better 3-point shooter than Rip. Um, he can create off the dribble. That Rip was very good at the mid range game, but Rip was the type of player that you could never he never really took over games like that. I see Abaji being that type of player. Some people will probably maybe put Abaji in the same category as like a Brandon Roy before Brandon Roy got injured. Remember, Brandon Roy was a big time impact player for Portland, and then he got injured.
Right.
So I think Abaji is funny too because that's the team he's linked to on this site. But that's who I think Abaji can be, like a Brandon Roy type player, maybe a slight bit better.
I mean, what nobody's talking about is the kid's athleticism. Like, I don't know why we're not talking about his athleticism. Here, let's read what the person from CBS said about him. He said, "I'm higher on Agbaji than most simply because I don't understand what's not to like about a 6'5" athlete who is a plus defender on the wing, excellent three-point shooter. Once you get past the top tier prospects in this draft, the Kansas All-American makes as much sense as anybody and will provide Damian Lillard with a new teammate equipped to help from day one. Immediate impact player, once again."
Right, which is what we're looking for. But here's the problem why we won't draft him because he doesn't fit the look. Shout out to M. Bison.
So Agbaji 7, Johnny Davis 8. All right, I think that's about accurate. Small forward. He'll probably go out there, definitely help. He's insurance for Portland. I mean, for New Orleans, excuse me. He's insurance for them. Here we are, Jalen Duren, and then Benedict Mathurin at 10.
Wow, now that's a shocker there.
Benedict Mathurin at 10 is probably as solid as we're going to get outside of Agbaji. I prefer Agbaji, but I am not mad at Benedict Mathurin at all. If we get him, I mean, it's my 1A, 1B. That's how I feel.
You know what, man? If this happens, Tommy won't hear no complaints out of me. Because one thing I can say about Mathurin, he got that dog in him, and he's, how old is he? Is he 20?
I believe he's 19 turning 20.
19, 20. So he's young. Like that's a guy. I think he could take over games. Like you can't go wrong with either one of those guys. But if this draft actually happens this way, especially if we stick with the number 10 pick, of course, we heard rumblings that We may trade back. But I think the only time we would do that, it will depend on what happens in the draft. If it moves like this, then I think we would stay pat.
So it's to me, it's as good as you're going to get at 10. I think the only problem that I may have with this is that history doesn't bode well for the Wizards at 10, and history doesn't bode well in general for any NBA team for that matter at 10, because history says that you're getting 1 to 2 All-Stars at the 10th pick every 10 years. 1 to 2 All-Stars only every 10 years. So Benedict Mathurin upside, in my opinion, has every potential of being an All-Star. In fact, I mean, you're looking at a guy, in my opinion, if he shoots the three consistently at over 37%, you're talking about, you know, an immediate impact player and somebody that can come in right away, give you about 25 minutes a game, and be a huge contribution to this team.
Man, let me tell you what I like about Benedict Mathurin right here. The 6'6" wing is an impressive athlete and an above average shooter. Just the impressive athlete, you already know that's one of my pet peeves for this team, that we need athletes. So just to know that this guy can be an athlete, he's 6'6", he's 210. There was a certain player, and I don't want to. I'm not putting him in this category either. I'm not comparing him to this guy because it would just be completely disrespectful. But there was a player who was 6'6", and pretty much throughout his career, he hovered around 220 in weight. I think everybody knows him as the GOAT. I'm not saying that that's who he can be, but the size and the weight is what's impressive to me, because we've always had guards that are smaller than that. Even when we had Richard Hamilton was like a buck 80, up buck 85. So to actually, if you actually can get a guy like this who can definitely deal with, being physical, because a guy like 6'6", I could expect him to play in the low block and develop a post game. We got
Yeah.
undersized guards right now. So I'm gonna go ahead and say it. This is the Bradley Beal replacement right here, man. If you get him or Abaji.
Yeah. And that's how I feel. I feel like, you know, if the Pelicans can draft on insurance at the
Why
3
not
spot,
we?
why not us draft on insurance at the 2 spot? So
So
let's go
where
ahead.
do they have Dyson Daniels going? I'm kind of
You
curious.
you already
I'm
you
very
already
curious
know
about that.
you already know that's where I'm headed next. So Dyson
Got you.
Daniels, look how further down they have Dyson Daniels going. Dyson Daniels at 17 to the Rockets. So he's fallen out of
Wow.
actually the top 15. And this is actually pretty accurate because in previous mock drafts, he was already falling. Okay. I haven't seen Dyson Daniels at a top 10 in any mock draft except for the first one, I think. The first or the second one, I think they had him 10 or 11. But the actual mock drafts, and every mock draft is different, you know. But this mock draft and another mock draft has been pretty consistent at putting him below 15. So him being at 17 tells me that for whatever reason, Wizards Twitter is overvaluing a player who everyone else has falling below 15. When did you ever see Agbaji fall from below 15 or below 10? You never seen
Right.
it.
Right.
But we have seen Dyson Daniels fall from 10 to 20 or 10 to 17. We have seen that.
What's interesting is the kid that they got projected to go 16. He actually leapfrog over Daniels
Oh, who's that?
because they had, what's his name? Asume.
Oh,
I'm
Jang.
gonna Asamane Jang. I think that's his name. I
Who's
guess that's how you pronounce it.
whose
He
name?
was actually a lot lower than this, but he's actually skyrocketed.
Yeah, yeah, and even if I'm not mistaken, they had Eason going later than Dyson Daniels and other ones as well. He's moved up.
Wow.
Malachi
Malachi Branham, he
Branham,
moved up too.
yeah, and in fact, he actually in one of the other mocks that I saw, I think he was at 19 or 20. He's now at 14.
Hmm.
And then there was another one that I saw where they actually had the Wizards picking him at 10. And I'm not mad at that one
Yeah.
either. AJ Griffin, he's actually dropped. I think originally he was a top 10. So Sean, I think he's moved up a little bit. I think he's projected to go between 10 and 15. But all in all,
Yeah,
man,
he's right around.
yeah,
He's right around where they got him projected. But they had Dyson Daniels dropping like that. Sounds about right. And Ty Washington, he's another one that's dropped.
he's another one that dropped. He was actually projected around 11 or 12, and he dropped down to 19. Jaden Hardy, Kendall Brown. Let's see where they have Jovic. Jovic is wow. They got Jovic as a last pick, and he's dropped.
Mm,
He's dropped tremendously. Now let me tell you why I believe he dropped. I saw something the other night where they said they didn't have enough on Jovic, where they believe
hmm.
that his sample size is too small.
Right.
He's only played, I think, roughly 20 games. And based off of his professional career, and based off of the league that he played in, I think he's only giving you a sample of 10 games or less. And I could be wrong about
Hmm.
the things that I'm saying, but if you go look at some of his numbers, uh they're spread out. So I think he's played on more than a couple teams. He
Hmm.
doesn't play for one team per se, so it's kind of hard to judge, where he would fall just based off of his small sample size.
A part of me, man, still feels that Tommy was trying to get him. The OKC, they have 3 first round picks. So I think Tommy, if because I just got a feeling that Tommy is looking at this kid, that he would try to get his draft rights. If that means he would have to trade somebody like Kyle Kuzma and some other pieces to get him. But based off of what you said, now that kid Jean Montero, I've seen some drafts where they got him falling second in the second round.
Mm-hmm.
But that kid, what's his name? What is it? Shandon Sharp, who they got projected to go to the Pacers.
Jaden.
There's really no film on him except high school highlights. But as you saw, he's in the top 10. He's projected to go six.
Yeah. Yeah.
And people are saying that he may be the steal of the draft.
I mean, some players some players' skill level takes over the sample. Some players' skill, like Kyrie, didn't have much of a sample either coming into the NBA. He didn't play that many games for
Right,
Duke, but he was drafted where he was because Cleveland was sold on the skill level and the skill set,
right. Which you panned out for him.
which it panned out. So
So,
just wanted to touch
okay.
on just wanted to touch on that. The mock draft, this to me seems like one of the most accurate ones. Uh,
Yeah.
Based off of, the recency of the draft lottery and, where these players may fall because of their skill set and the team that needs their skill set, this seems about accurate.
Yeah. I agree. Dang, I'm still shocked about Abaji that they got him projected to jump to number 7. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I'm not mad at
But
Matherin either, though. I mean, if Agbaji, it could flip.
no, I'm not mad at him either.
Portland could pick Benedict Matherin over Agbaji, and then that's kind of how I'm looking at it. I'm looking at it like, well, if Portland picks Benedict Matherin, then we know who we should get. If Portland pick Agbaji, then we know who we should get. Portland is key to me in this because they're looking for the exact same type of player.
Hmm. The San Antonio pick was very intriguing to me because, in my opinion, they could be the team that could really change the dynamic of the draft by the time we pick. Because Even though they got them projected to take a center, what happens if they decide to go and grab Matherin? Who's to say that they won't draft Matherin? Some people would say, well, they already got their shooting guard of the future, and what's his name, Primo, that they drafted last year.
Yeah.
But he's still a project.
Right.
But you just never know what San Antonio is going to do.
Right.
So,
Right. So let's go over to, let's move on and let's go to the Wizards roster. Let's
okay.
talk about Tommy and what Tommy Shepard needs to do once we draft that player. When you look at the Wizards salary cap situation, obviously everyone and their mother knows that Bradley Beal is owed almost $50 million a year, spanning over the next 5 years. He has that contract pending. We have Porzingis, who's coming up on a player option year after next season.
Mm-hmm.
You have KCP, who is on expiring. You have Kyle Kuzma, who's on an expire. Oh, actually, he's on a player option after next season as well.
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, looking at this, what do you think that the Wizards should do with, say, Rui or Denny based off of contract in their situations?
Extend them. When you look at Kuzma is at the last year of that $13 million. In my opinion, I've always been saying this. After next season, Kuzma.
All right. So there was a little technical difficulty. Sorry about that. We're going to get back to pick up where we left off. So, Kjose, what I was talking about Tommy Shepard's decision and what his decision is going to have to be with the team's salary cap after this year's draft. As you see,
right,
you see a bunch of players on technically 1-year deals. You got Porzingis on a player option after next season. KCP's on an expiring after next season. Kyle Kuzma player option. Rui, Denny, they're coming up on extensions. What does Tommy Shepard do?
Now, what I think Tommy Shepard does is KCP, Kuz, Rui, and Denny. Those guys are going to kind of like be going to, will be battling each other because this is a matter of getting long-term deals. The general consensus would say that we should move past Denny and we should move past Rui, but I don't believe Tommy Shepard is going to do that. I like Kuz, but I'm just afraid of paying a guy $25 to $30 million because he's not going to take a hometown discount. KCP, he will cost cheap. I mean, let's keep it a buck. That's Bradley Beal's boy, so he ain't gonna really ask for much. But if Rui and Denny are your future players, if they're your cornerstone pieces to the franchise, you need to treat them as such. They should not play behind a re-signed KCP, a re-signed Kyle Kuzma, who clearly is not the future of this franchise. So what Tommy should do, he should actually extend Rui and Denny because they're going to cost cheaper, and then just move KCP and Kyle Kuzma.
Yes, I agree 1,000% because Rui and Denny's contract is much cheaper. You're talking about Rui's probably going to command anywhere upwards of $15 million. Denny, I'm looking at is probably upwards of $13 to $14 million. Combined, you're going to be looking at $30 million for two players. For two young potential, the ceiling is, 20 points per game for either player.
Right.
In 4 years, if they're still doing what they're doing, that's a bargain. If they're doing what they're doing plus more, that's a bargain. So if they've actually improved within the next 4 years at $13-14 million, I mean, that's very similar to what Kyle Kuzma is being paid right now.
Well, yeah, I agree. I mean, look no further than another player who just not too long ago got an extension in Daniel Gafford. Next season, he's only making 1.9 million, but after that, look at what his numbers are: 12 million, 13, 14 million. Now, let's talk about Porzingis. Porzingis is due to make 33 million next season. And I also believe he's going to opt out in the last year of his deal. Everybody knows that Porzingis is not going to resign for cheap. So you have to factor that in when it comes down to the Wizards. Do the Wizards potentially get themselves, a young center in the draft, maybe in the second round that you groom because it's going to cost you a lot cheaper in the long run? Or do you go all in and you re-sign Porzingis to possibly 40, $42 million a season? Yes, he's about to be 27 and he's still young, but if we know that Ted Leonsis does not believe in paying into the luxury tax. Bradley Beal, if he gets his money, he's going to take us way into the luxury tax, and Porzingis is going to take us in the luxury tax because neither one of those two players are going to take a hometown discount. So if the idea is to stay under the luxury tax, then maybe you should go ahead and sell some of these guys who is going to eventually cost you a lot of money in the long haul. So just to kind of bring it back, Kuzma and KCP, maybe KCP probably won't cost no more than maybe 20 million. But do you really want to pay a 28, soon to be 29-year-old, 20, $25 million to do, every now and then get 20 points here and there and then pay Kuzma that same amount of money when you can pay Rui and Denny what KCP and Kuzma are making right now,
What is the projected
for the
cap
next
supposed?
4 to 5 years?
What's the projected cap supposed to be?
Uh, I think the projected isn't it supposed, it's supposed to go up this year.
Right. Is it one? Is it over 155?
I think it's about one. I thought it was a little bit higher than that. I thought it was like maybe $30 million more. But see, it's not even really about what it's going to increase. What people are actually talking about is 2020. Well, I guess the 25-26 season when that TV money's supposed to kick in. That's what people are looking at. When the TV money kicks in, that these contracts that we're seeing given to these players, they're saying that well, those are going to be pennies to the dollar. But if you're the Wizards, you should not be thinking on and banking on that TV money that doesn't kick in for another 3 seasons. You should be thinking about right now. If you want the contract to look pennies to the dollar, then don't overpay for some of these guys. You know, like people say, oh, well, if you pay Bradley Beal $50 million in the next 3 years, that contract is not going to really be that bad. Well, yeah, because you're banking on the TV money to kick in. That TV money to kick in to make it look reasonable. But that's foolish because we know that this organization does not believe in going over the luxury tax. And Ted is not going to do that for a team that possibly will be no better than a 6 seed. But then again, we don't know what's going to happen in the Eastern Conference because there's a lot of parity in the Eastern Conference. It's gotten better.
Absolutely. So this says the NBA salary cap for the 2022-23 season has reportedly been set at 122.
Okay.
This
Well,
comes in at $1 million higher than previous projections. The NBA luxury tax number is $2 million more than the original projections, which was 149 million. So it is around 150. So
okay.
that's the threshold, right? So how does the Wizards get under that? Looking at all of these salaries, I just don't. It seems like Ted's going to have to pay into the luxury anyway with Bradley
So,
Beal's new extension.
so scroll down a little bit. What does it have us projected at for the 2022-2023?
Well,
We're
2020,
already over it. We're almost there.
right? Well, I mean, we're over it. We're over it minus. We're over it with the additions of roster spots, but right now we're at 128, and he's well under the luxury. He would be well under the luxury here. But what I'm saying is if you're paying Bradley Beal $49 million, you know, and then you're looking at Porzingis, you're looking at KCP, all of these 9 times out of 10. When you get here, this is what I'm referring to, 2023, 2024. I don't know what it goes up to at that time. Let's see what the projection is for 2023, 2024. Oh, well, we don't know yet, right? We probably won't know
Yeah,
until
we don't.
after the CBA, after the collective bargaining agreement. So
Right.
so anyway, yeah, so you're looking at it, these guys are hitting the ceiling basically without going
Yeah.
into the luxury. They're hitting the ceiling.
Yeah,
So
because if you think about it after not to cut, so if you think about it, after next season, you got Kuzma, you got Porzingis, and you got KCP. Those are three guys that you got to pay money to because I already am saying that Kuzma and KP they're going to opt out for longer term deals.
I agree.
Let's just say hypothetically, Bradley Beal opts out after this season, which a lot of people think he is. I think he's going to opt in, but let's just say he opts out. You're starting him next year at $45 million. So he's already at that 45 million mark. Let's say the following season, that $45 million increases by 3 million. So he's at 48. Then you got to factor in how much are you going to pay KP? Well, KP is not going to resign for 33 million. He may resign for 40 million. Kuzma, let's say he's going to start out at 25 million. You're already over the luxury tax there. And then let's say KCP, maybe he might go at 20 million. What does that mean for the rest of the guys? Well, people would say, oh, well, you get rid of Rui, you get rid of Denny, but you're paying
More.
veteran players more money than you should be when you actually could have saved money if you just re-sign Rui and Denny, who's not going to break the bank. They're not going to break the bank. But Kuzma, KCP, and Porzingis, and even
How much,
Bradley Beal, those guys are going to break the bank.
how much did you say Kuzma would be worth, or what did you say that we would offer Kuzma?
Let's say Kuzma, I'm thinking Kuzma is probably going to ask anywhere between 20 to $30 million, anywhere somewhere in that bracket.
Let's go with
Maybe
25.
Kate,
Let's go with
we'll go
25.
with 25. We'll say
Right.
so. You paying Kuzma $25 million, which I think is an overpay for him. And then let's say with KCP, you sign him back for like 20
20.
million.
Right. So with that,
You're already paying two guys way more than you could be paying Danny and Rui, and then we're not even factoring what Porzingis is going to ask for.
well, we said 40. So basically with Bill on the books, it would be 40, around 48, 49 mil, plus 40 for Porzingis, 20 for KCP, 25 for Kuzma. You would be looking at $134 million between those four players alone.
Right.
And that's, again, we don't know what the projection is going to be for 23, 24 yet. We don't know what it's going to be. But just based off of that alone, you're only $15 million away from the current luxury. You're $15 million away from the current luxury. So you haven't even signed Rui to an extension yet. You haven't even signed Denny to an extension yet. You know, that's how people are factoring it in. I guess to your point, you're saying that folks are saying maybe we should get rid of these guys because that'll create more cap flexibility. But they're cheaper and they're younger. Why would you make that decision if these two guys are younger and cheaper than Kuzma, KCP? Now we know Porzingis is going to command 40 mil. That's with or without Bill, by the way. But what's the key here is Bradley Beal. His contract sets off everything.
Yeah.
And don't think
where's the cap flexibility?
I was just about to say that there's no cap flexibility, and folks know that. because they made these arguments against John Wall. There's no cap flexibility with $48, $49 million. It is what it is. It's a hard number. You can't move around with that. You can't, it's not flexible. You can't talk him into a restructure. It's guaranteed money. Okay, so if you do sign him to 48, 49 mil in 23, 2024, you're praying and hoping that after the new CBA, the cap goes up a lot, just because of the simple fact that you're paying Bill $48, $49 million. Now, granted, the cap has increased since John Wall's contract. You've seen more players get 45 million, 46 million, right? I think Curry's at what, 44, 45 million right now. You know, and granted, you know, he's worth that. But when Wall got his contract, everyone was saying at the time, there's no way I'd be paying him $41, $42 million, right? They're still saying it. And we're four years removed from him signing that contract. The point I'm making is that over time, it's still going to be hard to move Bill's $48 million contract, no matter who gets more than that.
So let's stay with that for a minute, because the next person that's up to make money is Tyler Hero. And people are saying, you know, people have said that, well, not people, but we've known that there's been conversations or rumors thrown around that Miami is a team that's looking at Bradley Beal. And people are saying that Tyler Hero will possibly be one of those pieces. But he's up to, to do for a contract extension. And they're projecting that he's going to be in that 180, 180, 182 range. And people are like, well, no, I don't want to pay that for Tyler Hero. Well, the market is saying that Tyler Hero is worth that. So I'm confused.
You want Bill to get his money.
But you saying Tyler Hero is not worth his money.
Right.
Tyler Hero would actually be cheaper than what Bradley Beal's contract is.
Yeah.
And I get it. Neither one of those two guys are worth the contract. But I could stomach Tyler Hero at 181 or 182. Then I could stomach Bradley Beal at $250 million with a B. Like, we need to really think about that. You're talking about a player who's not a Jokic, who is not a Steph Curry, who's not a KD or LeBron, making $250 million. And since I'm talking about him, and this is a shout out to Kevin Broom, I didn't listen to the podcast, but I was reading some of the excerpts from it. He said that he's a little bit concerned with Bradley Beal's durability going forward, as far as him recovering from this wrist injury. In so many words, I guess he's saying that this is going to probably be a nagging injury, and he doesn't really think that Bradley Beal is going to be able to get back to that level of basketball that he played. So you're thinking you're paying a guy $48, $45 million, and he's never able to live up to the 30 points that he was scoring. Now, he didn't score that this past season. He scored it the previous season, but the 30 points that he was scoring was empty stats. The 30 points he scored the previous year before that was in a losing season. So think about if this guy is not able to improve and he's going into his 30s making 48, 50 and up. It's going to be very challenging to move that contract. It's not easy to move that contract as it was with John Wall. We had to attach a protected draft pick to John Wall's contract. Yep. What do you think you're going to have to add on to Bradley Beal's contract when you're trying to move it and he's getting paid $48 million? You're going to have to do a lot more. So my point is that the opportunity is now. This is the last opportunity that the Wizards organization has to save themselves from a potential bad contract that they're eventually going to have to move later down the road. If you don't really want to have to settle, then just move, go ahead and prepare and listen to whatever offers that you get this offseason.
Well, his wrist injury reminds me of the one Larry Hughes had. Larry Hughes had a similar wrist injury.
Wasn't it his offhand too?
It was his offhand. He had surgery back in 2004. And one thing about his injury, he was never the same player after that wrist injury.
Right.
He was definitely more of an on-ball defender. And he was just a great player for us before that wrist injury. When he got that wrist injury, he was never the same player. Even when he went to Cleveland, he signed for that money. He was never the same player. So there's a good possibility that Bradley Beal doesn't become the same player post his wrist injury. We're familiar with this injury now. This isn't anything brand new to us. We've seen this here in Washington before. Only difference was Larry Hughes wasn't, a three-time All-Star. But, Larry Hughes was a very, very, very good player for us when he was here.
What's interesting about Larry Hughes, he's from St. Louis as well. And when he got that injury, it was in his contract year. And he wanted to be compensated well, and he didn't get compensated the way he wanted to. And he actually walked for nothing. He wasn't homegrown like Bradley Beal. But you got to look at it for what it is. Bradley Beal has been here for 10 years. We've actually had the team under his leadership the past 4 years. It didn't just start last year. He's been pretty much the face of the franchise, even when John Wall was here through those years that he was injured, and it hasn't worked. But now you're talking about paying this guy $250 million, and he'll be 29 years old next month.
Guess which team he suffered the wrist injury on?
Say again?
Guess which team Larry Hughes suffered the injury on? The Memphis Grizzlies.
Wow.
So that's crazy, right? So, he suffered the wrist injury against Memphis, non-shooting hand from St. Louis. Beal suffered the wrist injury against Memphis, non-shooting hand from St. Louis. It's literally like this right now for both of those guys. It's a parallel universe. Like I said, the only difference is Larry Hughes wasn't a three-time All-Star. So, just kind of going back into what the Wizards, and just kind of wrap it up into one big bow. What we really believe that the Wizards should do with this team and their salary situation is to really start looking at packages, start looking at how you can move guys out, bring guys in with high value, but on lesser deals. I saw a proposed deal on Wizards Twitter. I'm sure you probably saw it, where somebody proposed Kuzma and was it Kispert to, who was that? Was that Sacramento or was it Detroit? I think it was Sacramento.
Yeah, I think it was Sacramento.
But anyway, we're getting those draft picks. We're getting their draft picks.
Right.
And so, my thing was the deal looks good because of the fact that you get draft capital back. But I would propose something a little differently, because Kuzma isn't really, his contract, yes, is going to be a problem for those like Denny, for example, and Rui. But the biggest one, obviously, is who? Bradley Beal.
It's the player that you're not including, right?
It's the player you're not including. It's the one guy who has the most value on the team. Kuzma holds some value, but he doesn't hold the most value. You can definitely get more back when you're talking about including him in the deal as well.
But let me ask you this question. That particular package that somebody created, do you think Sacramento even picks the phone
up? For Kuzma, they probably will, because they wanted Kuzma originally in the deal for Buddy Hield.
But is that enough to get the number 4 pick is what I'm really asking you.
No, not to get the number 4 pick. No, you're going to need Bill in the deal.
Exactly. So the thing is that trade it benefits us, but it doesn't benefit Sacramento. Yes, we know that Sacramento wanted Kuzma, but in order to get the number 4 pick, because we know that they said, rumor has it that Sacramento will be willing to listen to offers. We can't call Sacramento up and not offer Bradley Beal to get that number 4 pick. It's just not going to happen. They won't pick the phone up unless we're coming at them correct.
Here's another.
So go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry to cut you off. Um, the other one was draft day deal. Kuzma, Corey Kispert, and our number 10th pick to the Spurs for McDermott, Joe Wieskamp. They're number 9, they're number 20, and they're number 25. What do you think about that one?
I wouldn't have a problem with that. My question is, if because we basically would just be moving up one spot, who will we draft? Are we gonna is Abaji still on the board or is Matherin still on the board? If one of those two guys is on the board, I'm cool with that. Now you said the 25th pick.
The 25th pick, yeah. You already
And
know
you
who
already
we
know,
would pick at 25.
yeah, that's gonna be Jovic.
Right. That's it. Yep. Without a doubt, that's gonna be Jovic. Without a doubt.
That's gonna be Jovic. So I wouldn't be mad at that package because I think San Antonio will pick the telephone up.
Mm-hmm.
But when you talk about Sacramento, if we're offering Kisper and we're offering Kuz and the number 10 pick for the 4th, they're not picking the phone up. We got to make it a little bit more appealing.
Right. Right. I agree. Look, I like any trade scenario when we're talking about getting rid of somebody's contract because
Yeah.
everyone loved it when it came down to John Wall. Everyone loved it when it came down to Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans. How would this be any different? This is not any different. You got to love the idea that you can offload someone's contract and what they could potentially make because they're probably going to be valued too high on this roster.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you really think about it, like with Spencer Dinwiddie's contract, he's getting what 17 million. It's not really a lot of money. The last year of his deal is only 10 million guaranteed. The guy is going to get an additional dollar if they go. What is it? If they go to the finals?
If they
I mean,
win,
one damn,
if they
and he
win the
wants it at what? If they win the finals and he wants it at 100 pennies,
yeah,
like if you really think about it, that's nothing really to worry about. But when you're talking about a player who's potentially going to make 48 to 50 million dollars, you should be already having conversations about moving that player before it even happens. Here's another thing too. Bill said he will be willing to take less money to win somewhere else. A lot of folks out there in Wizards versus not talking about that because everybody is saying the same thing that Tommy Shepard is saying. Well, until he says it to me, I'm calling cap. Well, it's coming from somewhere.
yeah,
It's got to be coming. And another thing is the decision it's not just Bradley Beal. His wife is going to be included in this decision as well.
mm-hmm.
You know that old saying, a happy wife equals a happy life. So if his wife is saying, hey, I don't want to be here anymore because I don't want to raise my children here, Bradley Beal is going to concede.
Right,
He said it's not about the money.
right. You there?
So, yeah, I'm still here. So, I
Okay.
mean, I think we just need to be more realistic. But in reality, if Matherin or Abaji is there at number 10, if we decide to stay pat, we should be drafting one of those guys. I just don't feel Tommy is going to do that because if it is true, and I think it was M. Bison that said this, that Tommy doesn't scout the AAU basketball and all that mess. I mean, a part of me feels that he probably won't draft those guys because of that reason. Because I know those two, well, probably with the exception of Matherin, but I know that Abaji had to play in the AAU, but Tommy doesn't see value in that, which is mind-boggling to me.
Well, the okay. So I actually gotta I actually gotta notice this time, my dude. So all right. It says 10 minutes. All right.
Oh, I see it too. I'm actually seeing it on my end.
Okay. Um, so at this point, it looks like the Wizards and their salary situation is going to be one for the books. The Wizards have to obviously make that decision. It's going to be very, very challenging for Tommy Shepard and what he has to do. Now we'll end it here in the next 5 minutes or so. The last thing that I wanted to bring up to you would be so the Wizards season this
Mm-hmm.
past year. They finished 35-47.
Mm-hmm.
Started out 10-3. They went 25-44 the rest of the way. Go ahead and give your grade on this past season, and what are you expected to see out of the Wizards next season?
So for this past season, I'll give them a D. Um,
Okay.
I'll give them a D. They started out strong, but then we know something happened. You know, when obviously things changed. They started out 10-3, and then Bradley Beal came back, and then the team stopped playing defense. The ball stopped moving. Players weren't getting their touches. We heard players was complaining. Those players got moved, and then we still continue to play bad basketball. We can't ignore the collapse against the Clippers. That I mean, that was just a major collapse. Bradley Beal gets injured playing against the Memphis Grizzlies, and then we just played bad basketball. We kind of played competitive, but we played bad basketball. Um, Next season, I'm expecting a mediocre season because I think we're going to see a lot of player movement this offseason. I think that Donovan Mitchell probably might end up in the East. I think Rudy Gobert may end up in the East. We
So
don't know what's going to happen with.
you're saying that the East is going to be more competitive as to
It's going to
why
be more. It's
we're
going to
not
be
going
more
to
competitive.
we're
I
not
don't
going to
think
move
it's
the needle.
right. I don't think. And then too with our cap situation, it's going to be very hard for us to improve. Jalen Brunson has not come here. We can't afford him. Tyus Jones, we can't afford him either. Malcolm Brogdon, what kind of package we're going to give up to get him? And then pretty much that probably will be another Spencer Dinwiddie situation all over again. So, we just don't know what is going to happen this upcoming season. But I feel that the Eastern Conference is going to become a little bit more better. I believe that Bradley Beal will listen to offers from other teams. I don't think that he's just going to automatically sign the contract when it's given to him. So these are things that we need to factor in. I think we're going to more so stay pat. We're going to probably make a lot of conservative moves, and we're not going to really be that good.
Well, I'll give my take and then we can wrap this up. What I believe is, my grade first and foremost, I'm gonna go with a D plus,
Okay.
and it's below average because of how we finished. That 10-3 start. Going 25-44 is no excuse, seeing that you still had a 40 game healthy Bradley Beal, right? So that's half the season. And what's to show for it? Well, we were on a 6 game losing streak prior to his injury. And he's one of the leaders on this team. And, there's no reason to believe that even with a healthy him next season, that it changes anything, especially knowing that he's going to be making way more money than what he's making now. So,
Right.
Wes Unseld Jr. doesn't get a pass either because Wes Unseld Jr., in my opinion, failed certain players on this team. Spencer Dinwiddie being one. I don't care what anybody
Right.
says, but Spencer Dinwiddie is the black eye that this organization could not afford this past season. All right, and then Tommy Shepard doesn't get a pass because you brought in Dinwiddie. Okay,
Yeah.
and you all you did with Dinwiddie's situation was you corrected a mistake. By trading him to Dallas and Bertans to Dallas for Porzingis. Now Porzingis came in. Yes, he played in the second half of the season. Granted, I felt like he needed to justify that trade, number one. But number two, if Porzingis is the guy who we think that he is, then next season is not going to be a 60 game season. Next season is going to be an 82 game season.
Agreed.
So we can't all just, think that we won the trade yet. Bertans and Dinwiddie down in the Western Conference Finals. They're in the Western Conference Finals. And there was no guarantee that the Mavericks was going to get there with Porzingis. Okay, they got there on proof with Bertans and Dinwiddie. Regardless of what people are saying about those two players, they are in the Western Conference with those two guys on the roster. So it has to mean something to them that they pulled that deal and they pulled that trade. And the last thing, and then we'll wrap this up. I'm running out of time. The last thing, obviously, is next season, going into next season, my dude, I feel you and how you feel as far as it'll be below average, below mediocre. We're probably looking at another 35-win season because we're not going to make any big splash, any big move in the offseason. But let me tell you what's key. John Wall is key to me. If there's any way you can bring John Wall back on a cheap contract once he's bought out, you're getting way more bang for your buck, man.
I agree.
And you're talking about a guy who's going to be out there to prove something every night.
I agree.
And just imagine a hungry John Wall. Like, imagine that. Night in, night out. I mean, he's going to play next season. Whoever he plays for next season, he's going to be as hungry as ever because of how many doubters he has and because of how many people said that he's washed. He's going to be out to prove everyone wrong next season. I can assure you that.
Okay. So I got a question for you, and we'll end this.
Yeah.
What's your percentage of John Wall re-signing with Washington? What's your percentage?
I'm at 90% he'll re-sign. You?
Okay. I'm right there. I think I'm at 95.
95. Okay. I like it. 90%, 95.
I'm at 95.
Okay, I like it.
The tattoo, him showing the tattoos got me there.
Okay. I think him showing the tattoo was it too. I think Kuzma picture was that was kind of like but him being with his family and him showing his family and then he showed his tattoos with his family, that means he considers us family.
Absolutely.
So DC family, get ready. John Wall is returning, baby. That's how I feel. But guess what? Just like it's up to Bill and what he's going to do this offseason, it's up to John Wall and what he's going to do this offseason. So I'd really hate to just assume that it's going to happen, but I am speaking with complete confidence that he'll be here.
Yes, sir. I agree.
All right, man. So that's going to wrap up this episode of State of the Wizards. We want to thank you guys for tuning in. We're sorry for, taking so long, but hey, we have off seasons too, man. But, we're promising that we'll be back with more content soon. And signing off, you guys have a good night. Thank you for tuning in.